Well, hello, good morning. Or, wait, no, I'm on the West Coast, and it's probably going to be another couple hours before I get this up, so it's probably more like good afternoon, good evening by the time you guys are actually getting around to seeing this. Unless it's tomorrow morning, and then it's still good morning, and I'm safe. Sorry, it's taken me so long to get this next vlog up. I'm addressing some questions over the course of the next few vlogs I upload, because I've been getting like the same questions over and over and over again. So instead of responding to each individual question, I've just decided to post these little nifty videos, and then if you guys see people leaving comments on my Facebook profile or on my YouTube videos, you can just link them. I'm going to put you guys to work. So anyways, the question I'm addressing today, I'm actually going to sit down. It's easier for me to think when I'm walking, but I always get comments from you guys when I'm pacing, and you guys are like, sit down, you're making me dizzy. So let's see if I can do this sitting down. The question I'm addressing today is about the gear I've been using. And by the way, I should also say, I meant to shave before I did this vlog, but I forgot to. So if I look like a homeless person, I'm sorry. But so I ever since I launched my YouTube channel, I've gotten a lot of questions about the gear I use, primarily the camera. And I've got to admit, I've been a little secretive about the cameras that I've used since my YouTube channel's been up, because the videos you'll see have been shot with a few different cameras. I've been kind of secretive with the gear that I use, not because, well, not because I'm mean and I don't want you guys to have the same gear I have. I mean, a lot of the stuff that I have, I've saved money for years to buy. So, I mean, it's not that I expect everybody on YouTube is going to go out and buy everything I have, but mainly because it's not a simple question to answer. Because people want to know like what the best camera is to buy. I get asked that a lot, like what's the best camera out right now? And a lot of the times, actually all the time, it's not about like which camera is best. There are different levels of cameras, of course, but the real question that should be asked is what camera is best for what I'm doing. Because different cameras, especially when you're in the prosumer level, you have like consumer, which is like a handy cam or like a cyber shot or something like that. And then you have prosumer, which you get into some like little more expensive like EX1s and 7Ds now, like the whole DSLR age is setting in. And then you have like the pro cameras, which is like, well, I guess even Red is still kind of like the high end of prosumer, but it's being considered more and more a pro camera. But then you have like these cameras that cost as much as a small house, and those are like ridiculous cameras. So it's not especially in the prosumer range. I'm talking a lot here, but in the prosumer range of gear, there's like pros and cons to each camera. So the cameras, the companies make the cameras to like have certain disabilities, because those same companies that are selling cameras for $5,000 are selling cameras for $50,000 and $100,000 even sometimes. So it's like they kind of like there's not like one master camera in the few $1,000 price range. So all that to say, I'm talking a lot without hitting the point. It's been a hard question for me to answer, but the camera, I'm just going to go ahead and make it known which camera I've been using for the past 5 months. I actually changed cameras in the last like 5 or 6 months. I'm currently using the Canon 7D, and I was shocked to find out recently that a lot of people think I've been shooting on Red, which is crazy, and I'll take that as a compliment. I think people think I'm shooting on Red because, I mean, there's actually a lot of people shooting on the Canon 7D. It's just a simple DSLR camera that takes video, and I felt like such an idiot when I got it, because the camera I had before the 7D, I had about $18,000 invested in my previous camera. It was an expensive camera. And so upgrading to a DSLR that cost $1,800 was kind of embarrassing. I came from the freelance world, so I had to have a camera that was versatile and had a lot of options. And but now that I'm just doing YouTube and sketch comedy, I was able to get the 7D. And the 7D is a lot better than the camera I had before in many ways. And in many ways, it's not nearly as good. It's not as flexible. I don't like the codec that it shoots in. The H.264 codec is obnoxious to shoot in because it's not designed for production. It's designed for delivery, so you have to digitize everything to a different codec before you can even start editing it if you don't want a lot of problems. And by the way, I should also say, I understand that the only people that are going to watch this are tech people. If you're watching this right now and you're like, oh, I really don't want to watch this, just turn it off. Do yourself a favor. I don't expect everybody to get into this. I just want to address this question because I get asked these questions a lot. Where was I? But yeah, the 70s great. Like, it puts out a great picture for the price range. It's awesome. But you know, but what you got to keep in mind is most of the time your camera, if you're using a camera that has interchangeable lenses, the camera that you're using doesn't really matter. It matters to a degree, but the biggest thing you want to focus on is what kind of lenses do you have. And again, lenses are kind of the same thing as cameras, whereas like there are different levels of quality of lenses, but there's not like which lenses are the best. Like, it's, you know, it's preference. It's you know, different manufacturers manufacture their lenses different ways to give different looks. So it's about preference. It's about what you're doing, what you're working on. And a lot of you guys asking these questions, I realize they're just people that are looking for something like, what's an easy thing for me to get into? Because YouTube is obviously a place for people to get started. So you're not going to want to go out and spend a lot of money and time focusing on like what lenses you've got, what camera body you've got. And some of you will. And my advice to those of you who do want to go spend some money and are looking, you know, you have a few $1,000s and you want to go see, you don't have any clue what to get, you know, read reviews online, read forums, you know, find people that are doing exactly what you want to do and find out what they're using. I'm using the Canon 70. You know, go out and, you know, and here's another thing. Lenses are, you know, what's great about lenses, and actually all equipment, is you can get them used. And you can get a great lens that is super cheap. Like, just get old used lenses, try them. If you don't like them, sell them. That's the great thing about gear. If you try something and you don't like it, just sell it. And usually you can make your money back, especially if you buy it used. But make sure you buy it from someone you trust or someone who has good reviews on eBay. I've bought a lot of the gear I have used. You know, and I usually do that if I'm trying something out and I'm not sure how I'm going to like it. Because the great thing about used gear is you sell it and you don't lose any money. And then you just get something else. You try the next thing. And that's how I've learned. I didn't go to film school, so that's how I've learned everything I've learned. Is just by trial and error. And yeah, you're going to make some mistakes, but that's the best way to learn. You don't want to learn by somebody else telling you what to do. So I'm not going to tell you guys what to do. I'm not going to tell you what to buy, because there's not one answer to that question. And another thing to keep in mind is to look and the feel of the videos that are on my channel. 99% of the videos on my channel are lit. They have lights. You know, I have a ton of lighting equipment, and you know, I'll spend hours setting up for a sketch before we start shooting. Sometimes you know, you go into a room and it's like, this is perfect. I don't need anything. Maybe a reflector and something for faces, and that's it. But most of the videos on my channel are very heavily lit, and that is another huge variable. You can have the greatest camera, you know, you can have an amazing camera, and if your lighting is off, if you don't have good lighting, your image is still going to look like crap. So lighting is something that's important to learn, and you know, that's another thing that's kind of like trial and error. You know, there's basic things you can do to learn that. Like when I learned lighting, it was literally. I was working for a church at the time. I actually did videos for a church in Nashville for a couple of years while I was doing freelance stuff. And the way I learned lighting was literally the technical director at the church, who's actually a good friend of mine still to this day, Chris Thomas. If you're watching this, what's up? Was literally the technical director handing me a set of lights, of like 5 lights, and going, "Here you go." And I look back on the first few things that I lit, and I'm just like, oh, but I learned as I went. I learned like where good places to put lights were, and so, you know, with most things you can learn as long as you're willing to look at the final product and go, yuck, because I think a lot of people look at, you know, not saying you have to say yuck. Let me step back and say that for a second. You may pick up a lighting kit and just have like second nature for it, and it'll look amazing, but most people won't. And I didn't, and I just had to be willing to look at my product at the end of the day while I was editing and go, okay, you know, and it's common sense when you're doing lighting. It's common sense. Like, you can look at an image and tell where a light is coming from, where it's hitting the person, and yes, okay, well, And I like to do that. Like, I like to watch movies and like just look at the lighting and figure out how people, you know, where they put the lights and stuff. And that's how I've learned most of what I've done. You got to be willing to look at your work and say, I could have done that better. And a lot of people will tell you that that's destructive thinking. That's like a bad way to do it. But it's constructive. It's constructive. You're not beating yourself up. You're just learning. And that's a good thing. So I don't really know where to go from there. But yeah, I just wanted to post this and let you guys know it's not just about the camera you have. In fact, the camera body that you're using, like I said, if you're using a camera with interchangeable lenses, doesn't have much to do with your image. As long as you've got a camera that'll shoot 24p, you want something that'll shoot HD. But your lenses, you know, are super important. Your lighting is super important. So, so keep all that in mind if you're looking for, you know, if you're looking to make a good investment in something that you'll use for a long time. If you're just looking for something to start out, get something that doesn't have interchangeable lenses. Do yourself a favor. It'll take you some more time to get to that point where you're using like bigger cameras and your picture's not going to look as great as it would if you were using a camera with interchangeable lenses, and you know, you're not going to have that shallow depth of field per se, but you know, you're going to learn a lot easier that way. Just ease into it. You don't have to dive in. If you dive in, you're going to get overwhelmed and you're going to give up. It should be fun, and if you're just starting out, you should be focusing on what the stories that you're telling, the content, you know, because that's the most important stuff at the end of the day. So just have patience and just make sure you're having fun at the end of the day, because if your sketches look great and you're not having fun, or whatever you're shooting for that matter, not just sketches. If you're shooting something and it looks great but you're not having fun, it's gonna suck. Nobody's gonna like it, because you got to believe what you're saying. So, yeah. So I would say, in order of importance, lighting first, lenses next, camera body third. Because even if you've got a crappy camera, if you know where to put the lights, if you know how to tell where good lighting is coming from, if you're using natural light, you can still make your image look good. So, I've been trying to get around to doing like a full review on like a lot of the gear that I use, so you guys can see. And but I'm not going to do that in this vlog. I just wanted to focus on like the camera, and I think this is way too long as it is, so I'm just going to upload this. If you have questions about the gear that I'm using specifically, or if there's anything you think I've left out, post a comment. I'm going to try to read all of the comments on this, and I'm going to try to respond to the questions, you know, to certain questions. I probably won't be able to get to all of them, but I'm going to try to respond to like certain ones that pop out at me. So, that is it. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment box, and I hope this was helpful for you guys. I will talk to you soon.